Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. These are my top 10 board games of 2024. Just my overall top 10 games, my favorite games of the year. Over the past month, I've been releasing a number of top 10 category videos. You know, top 10 games in a certain type, a certain genre. We did top 10 cooperative games, and top 10 family games, and top 10 party games, and top 10 two-player games, and top 10 card games, and a bunch of those different ones. And part of the reason I did that is because, you know, I like having games in different genres. I look for games in different genres. You know, I want a small box game that I can just bring to a bar with me. I want a cooperative game because I feel like that's really good for my mom and for people in my family and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to do all those different category videos. But these, no categories here. These are just my personal favorite games. I played about 300 games for the first time in 2024, which is certainly not even close to all of them that came out, but it is still a lot. It is definitely a lot of games. And so, you know, here are the best of them for me. I hope you like what you see here. And I'll say which video they're from too. So if you want to hear more, I'm not going to try to belabor the point here because a lot of these I have covered in some of those other category videos, and I'll tell you which ones they're in. So thanks so much for joining me. All right, hope you enjoy the list. I'll start by saying it is incredibly hard to pick your top 10 games. You know, if you asked me on a different day, I'm sure the order of these would be different. If you asked me on a different day, I might include a different game than one of these. It's so hard. I got into making content about games because I love games. I just enjoy playing games. I love the social aspect. I love the strategy. I love the memorable moments, all that sort of stuff. And so, you know, I like games, and you can probably tell that by watching my videos. So it's really hard to like leave some games out of this list, but I have done it. I've narrowed it down, but I did take the coward's way out, and I'm including an 11th game because I couldn't do 10. I've got 11 games right here, and I feel like I could more easily rank my top 15 games than my top 10, you know? So in number 11, my number 11 game here is The Gang from Cosmos. Plays 3 to 6 players in 20 to 30 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. This was my top cooperative game of the year. It is cooperative Texas Hold'em poker. I used to play a lot of poker. I haven't in a long time, and this has sort of reinvigorated my love of poker. You are playing through an actual Texas Hold'em poker hand where you are getting 2 pocket cards, you're flipping over 3 cards, then flipping over 1 card, then flipping over 1 last card, and you are sort of debating along the way as to who has the best hand versus who has the weakest hand. You can give a little information to everybody by taking a token from the middle, and the higher the value token, the better you think your hand is. And so you're just trying to reason out and figure out the strength of the hands in order. And if you do that, you win the round, and you need to win a certain number of rounds to win the game. And it's just very social because you're constantly talking about, well, what do they have? What are they trying to tell me? What changed when these cards came out? All that sort of stuff. I love games that are social, and I feel like The Gang really is. I will say I do think it's better at higher player counts. You know, at 3 players, it's pretty easy, but at, you know, 4, 5, 6, it becomes a little bit more difficult and a little bit more fun and memorable to me. Number 10 is Ironwood from Mind Clash Games. This plays 1 to 2 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This was one of my top 2-player games of the year. I just feel like the comparison I've started saying to people is Ironwood's a little bit like chess to me, in that the rule set is fairly simple. There's not a lot of rules overhead to the game, but the depth of strategy is very deep, you know, the depth, that's such a dumb thing to say. The depth of strategy is deep. Okay, Grant, yeah, you're a real poet here in this video. But there's an elegance to the game, this sort of simple card play, and yet all of the things that you can do with it. And it's a real push and pull between attacking and defending, and when do you need to press your foot on the gas, when do you need to press your foot on the brake, sort of stuff. I just feel like there's a lot of replayability in the game into sort of exploring the card combos and special abilities and stuff like that. It is an asymmetric game, so if you like asymmetry in games, both players are playing a very different role, winning the game in a different way, doing different things in the game. And there's some, replayability in that too, of switching roles and exploring the sort of depths of each of the roles. So it's just, it is a simple game to learn, but has a lot of strategy to it, and it's really cool. Number 9 for me is Skyrise from Roxley Games. This plays 2 to 4 players in 30 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This was on my top strategy games of the year. I love auction bidding games. They're some of my favorite games out there. I would put like Raw in one of my favorite games of all time. Medici is up there for me. Skyrise is an auction bidding game, but done in a cool, unique way. You have a number of buildings in front of you to start the game. Each player has a number of buildings, and those buildings have your bid amount on it. So you are going to put a building out on the board in a particular spot, a particular region, and that is your bid. Everybody else can pass, and you can get the area, or you can put down a bid that is higher. You can put down a building that is higher, adjacent to the first one, and everybody can keep sort of re-upping the bid until everybody passes and somebody gets it. But when you get it, you lose that building. That building stays on the board and becomes part of an area control aspect for you. So there's an interesting aspect of, you're like, okay, maybe I really want this other region that's out here, but I can't get there yet. So if I start the bid low, maybe other people will bid, and then I can sort of build up to that area. I can extend the chain out to that area so I can get the one that I really want. There's just an interesting strategy there. Production-wise, it looks really great too. It has cool table presence with all these different height buildings on the board and stuff like that. So that is Skyrise. Number 8 for me is Let's Go to Japan from AEG. This plays 1 to 4 players in 45 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. And it was in my top unique games of the year. And it feels unique because it is kind of like an engine building game, but instead of, firing off your engine multiple times in the game, you're just building an engine throughout the game to do it once at the end of the game. You're doing all this pre-planning. You are putting cards in different days to build an itinerary for your trip to Japan, and you're only going to sort of score it at the end of the game. You're going to go boom, 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 and sort of go down your columns, go down your cards, and you need certain symbols in the row before other symbols in order to score for that card. It's all about sort of card combos and card synergies and stuff like that. I like drafting games too. I like, that idea of you have to keep a card and pass a card, because that's always a tough decision, where you're like, man, I like both of these cards. Which strategy am I going to go for? What am I going to do this particular game? And so, there is a draft and pass aspect to the game, and I just really like that sort of firing off your engine once. And you have to keep a lot of stuff straight in your mind throughout the game, where you're like, okay, I need to remember that I need to get one more of those symbols. I need to draft one more of those symbols, or else this card over here isn't going to score. And oh yeah, I forgot. I need to up my positivity over here. And so you're just sort of trying to keep all that stuff in your brain as you're planning your trip. Number 7 for me is Flip 7 from the Op. This plays 3 to however many people you want to play. They do recommend, if you want to play with more than 18 people, that you should have multiple decks of cards. It plays in 20 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. Games to me should be above and beyond. First and foremost, games should be fun. That is why I play games, because I just want to have fun. And there's a lot of different ways to have fun. And to me, Flip 7 is just like pure fun. That's why I like this game, is because I have fun with it every time I play it. Is it the most original game? No. Is it the most like depth of strategy game? No. But I have a good time every single time I play Flip 7, and it's a game that I can play with sort of anybody. It's a game that I can, pull out and anybody can get the rules in 10 seconds and then we just play and have a great time. It's also a game that has big emotional moments. Like, I love those sort of memorable moments where everybody's cheering or everybody's yelling or stuff like that. In the game, there is a deck of cards, and the deck has 12 12s and 11 11s and 10 10s and so on and so forth. And on your turn, you are either hitting or you're staying. If you ever get the same card twice, you bust for the round and you get no points. And so it's just about hitting or staying and pushing your luck and gambling. There's certainly a gambling aspect to it, and it is a race to 200 points. And again, there's just always emotional big moments and stuff like that. This is one I will be bringing back to the holidays and playing with all of my family. We're going to have a great time. I know it. And so, yeah, it's just a fun time. Flip 7. Oh, I did want to note too with Flip 7, I have like a small promotional copy, but then the retail copy was in a much bigger box, and it was kind of annoying because you don't need anything more than a tuck box for Flip 7, and so they put it in this bigger box for like shelf presents or whatever, and a lot of people were mad, and I do know that the op is going to release an actual version of it in the sort of small tuck box. So if you don't want the big box, you will be able to get a tuck box soon for it. Number 6 on my list is the game MLEM Space Agency from Rebel Studio. Plays 2 to 5 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but maybe on the upper end of lighter weight. This was in my top family games of the year, and again, when I'm talking about fun, MLEM is just fun to me. It is a silly good time every time I play it. You are pushing your luck, rolling dice, and moving up this sort of galaxy playmat. You are moving up to different spots on the playmat, and every spot has a dice number or 3 that is associated with it that you need to roll to sort of move up and stay alive. So you are rolling dice, moving up if you roll the right number. But it's a push your luck game, so at some point you can either sort of stop and jump off the spaceship or say, yo, let's ride or die, I'm going to keep going, let's keep rolling. Every round you are loading one of your cats into the spaceship. Literally the theme of this is cats in space. And so each cat that you put on the spaceship has a special ability, so that's some of the fun strategy of it, is what cat you're going to put in at what time and how you're going to, do that sort of stuff. What do you want to do this time? This cat can jump off early. This cat gets you double points if it's on a moon, things like that. But it's inherently just rolling some dice and hoping it works out for you. And there is definitely at times it feels cooperative because you're like, oh, let's go. At times it feels cutthroat because you're like, screw you, I'm getting off and I hope you burn in space, that sort of stuff. So it's just it is a push your luck dice rolling game, but it's a push your luck dice rolling game that has maybe a little bit more strategy than most. It's not just dice and that's it. There's some decisions to make with which cats you want to jump, put in the spaceship. There's some decisions to make about where you want to jump off. There's area control for the planets. There's points for the moons. There's objectives you're trying to get. So it has a little bit more going on than just most sort of pure push your luck dice rolling games, which I like about it. Number 5 for me is Harmonies from Libelud. This plays 1 to 4 players in 30 to 45 minutes, and it is sort of on the edge of light to maybe light medium weight game. Harmonies was my top family game of the year because it is gorgeous, it is thinky, It is simple to learn, but it has some depth of strategy to it. One, it has amazing table presence. You are drafting these little discs and putting discs out into your own personal player area, and you can arrange them how you want, you can stack them how you want, and you're going to get points for stuff being next to other stuff, heights of different things. You're trying to create chains of some colors, you're trying to make some colors independent of the same color, be on their own. There's just a lot of a puzzly aspect of how you want to put stuff down on your board. Then you will also be getting these animal cards, and animal cards have patterns on them. And if you can match the patterns on your board, you're going to score points for that as well. So there's sort of multiple things to think about when scoring. There's sort of the baseline of how does this disc type score, and then the also pattern scoring of the cards that you get. So, there's some real choices there, but this is a game I could play with my family, I could play with people that haven't played really games before, and I feel like it's always going to go over well because it looks so great on the table, and yet is still easy enough to learn and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you're looking for just a gorgeous puzzly game, Harmonies is great. Number 4 for me is Fromage. This was my top unique game of the year and also in my top strategy games of the year. It's from Road to Infamy, plays 1 to 4 players in 30 to 45 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. Fromage is a worker placement game where you are putting workers out on the board, but you can only put workers in the sort of wedge of the board that is facing you. The board is divided into 4 sections, and you are placing in the section that is facing you. And every place that you put a worker is oriented in a different fashion. Some of them are a triangle pointing this way, some are a triangle pointing this way, some are a triangle pointing this way. And the board rotates every single turn. There's simultaneous play, which I love because there's no downtime in this game at all. You're always doing something. You're always thinking about something. And so when you place out a worker, then after the round is done, the board will rotate. If the worker is facing you, you will get that worker back. However, if it is not facing you, if you put it here, it rotates, now it's facing that direction, it's not facing you, you don't get that worker back. So there's a really interesting timing aspect to it. And it's hard choices because any spot going this way, you'll get the worker back right away, but that spot is weaker. It will get you less resources, it'll get you less points, whereas this one takes longer to get your worker back, but it's stronger. It's going to get you more points, it's going to get you more resources, and so it's just an interesting, unique timing aspect, and that idea of planning out when you have workers, when you don't need workers, when you want to get them back versus when you're okay with them staying out is just really interesting. Every time I play it, I feel like it's interesting. Number 3 for me is River of Gold from Office Dog Games. Plays 2 to 4 players in 60 to 90 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. This was my top strategy game of the year. I don't like a lot of downtime in my games. I want games to be snappy even when they, take longer than an hour to play. If each individual turn moves quickly, then I'm okay. It keeps my interest. And I feel like River of Gold does it really well. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and yet each turn you're only doing one thing, and so boom, 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 it moves quickly, which I like about it. It's gorgeous on the table as well, which never hurts. It's a game that I like looking at and enjoy playing. In the game, you are building buildings along a river, getting benefits for that. You are sailing ships down the river, stopping at buildings and getting resources. You are using resources to play cards. Those cards will get you ongoing special abilities, endgame points, things like that. And so one of the most interesting aspects of the game is your turn always ends with rolling a die, and that die tells you where you can do stuff. You can only build a building in the region that your die shows. The number on the die tells you how many spaces you can sail your ship. The type of the suit, if you will, the region that's shown on the die can tell you what type of cards you're allowed to build, all that sort of stuff. And you can spend some resources to tick your die up or down, so there's an interesting die manipulation aspect of the game to sort of get to where you want to go. I feel like that that aspect of the game, takes the strategy from here to here. It just makes it way more interesting because you can't just go anywhere and do anything. You have to respond to how you're rolling and where you need to go and stuff like that. I think it's a really cool game, River of Gold. Number 2 for me is Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. This was my top 2-player game of the year. It plays 2 players only in 30 to 45 minutes. It is medium weight, and it's from Repose Productions. If you asked me what's my favorite 2-player game of all time, if push come to shove, I would probably pick Seven Wonders Duel. And Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth adds theme on top of Seven Wonders Duel. I think it's probably even better than Seven Wonders Duel because that theme really helps teach the game. It makes it feel more tangible. The production value of this one is really cool too. So you're doing some of the same things you are doing in Seven Wonders Duel. You are drafting cards. Those cards are going to get you resources. Those cards are going to get you money. Those cards are going to get you a lot of different stuff. And there are 3 ways to win the game. You can either win the game by moving forward on this track. You can win the game by getting a bunch of different green cards, green symbols, or you can win the game by having enough area control out on the board. And so, every time you play this game, you're going to do different stuff. You're going to draft different cards. You're going to go for different win conditions because you're both responding to the cards you're getting, responding to what your opponent is doing, and it's just really, really fun. I mean, every time I play it, I feel like I try something different or do something different, win in a different way, lose in a different way, and it's just got a lot of depth to it. Again, I like that the sort of theme of the aspect does make it more tangible. Like, for instance, in Seven Wonders Duel, the military track is just sort of an abstract track, like a tug-of-war where you're just sort of going back and forth. But in this, now, it replaces that track with a board, and you are putting troops on the board, and you are eliminating your opponent's troops, and moving troops, and taking over areas, and if you can control 7 different areas on the board, you can win the game that way. And so that's just a way more, that feels more interesting to me, moving troops and destroying your opponent's troops than just sort of a tug-of-war on the military track. So I like it a lot. Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. And my number 1 game of the year is Faraway from Pandasaurus Games. This plays 2 to 6 players in 15 to 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, but maybe lighter to medium weight game. Faraway is a small box card game. This was my top card game of the year, and I've already mentioned in this video I like auction games, bidding games. I like card games. I like there's so much about Faraway that I like. You are using cards from your hand to bid for cards in the market. And, the person who plays the lowest card gets to select their card first. And then you're putting those cards in a tableau. You are building a lineup of cards. And the game plays in just 8 turns, 8 rounds, because you are going to put 8 cards in your tableau in front of you. But there's a really interesting play of thematically, you are going on a journey. You are traveling out on the journey and then coming back and only scoring points as you come back. So at the end of the game, after you've played your 8 cards, you can flip sort of all 8 of them down and just flip over 1 at a time and score for it. But the way you score for things, a lot of times cards have prerequisites for them scoring for you. They might need certain symbols, but if it's your 8th card, every other card is face down, so you might not have the symbols. You need to have the symbols to score that card to the right of that card. And so it's just, there's a lot of depth to Faraway for sure. Like, it's kind of, like the first time you play it, it breaks your brain a little bit until you wrap your head around it, and then it's really addicting. I mean, this is one of the games we've played the most in my house. Also because it plays really quickly, this is a game we can knock out in 20 or 30 minutes, and so this is a game constantly where somebody's like, yo, I got 30 minutes, you want to play Faraway? It's like our number 1 game in our house in my house for that sort of a thing. We play it all the time because of that. It's the art is cool. There's a lot of player interaction of thinking about what other people are going, how you can beat them to a card, how you can, get what you need or pivot in the middle of the game because they're taking stuff that you need. I just like it a lot. Faraway. If you look on BGG, it says it's 2023. That's because it came out in Europe in 2023. It came out in America in 2024. So all of these are American release dates. All 11 of these games are great. I'm sorry I chickened out and put 11 in this video, but I love all 11 of these games and I couldn't choose between them. I'm sorry. Those are my top 10 games of the year, my top 11 games of the year, let's be honest. So thank you so much for being with me on this top 10 journey. I hope you liked a lot of these different category videos. I hope you got some useful information out of them. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing. If you want to check out my Patreon and support the work I'm doing, it's patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. I hope you're having a great holiday season. I hope you have a wonderful 2025 as we go into the new year. I hope you get to play a lot of games with people that you love. All right, thanks everybody.